So 8 December, good to have you with us. Welcome to the number of the day. And boy, Francis heard it's a big, big number for today, but not good news either.
No, 18,600. And this is the amount of Kia vehicles that are being recalled. And we'll talk about the numbers. But these numbers are adding up of car recalls in 2025 in South Africa. And this is a big one. There are quite a few models, Sportage, Sorento, Optima, Cerato. These are car models sold between 2009 and 2015. And Stellantis also recalling 323 Jeep Wranglers. So not a good year for car recalls, and now we've got another big one and Jeeps as well.
Because if you go back to May of this year as well, there was another recall for a number of vehicle manufacturers as well. Just to remind everyone, it was, again, the Jeep Wrangler, the Chrysler, Citroens, Mercedes-Benz was in there, Audi, the VW, it was the Polo and the sedan, if memory serves correctly, as well as the Volvos. And the numbers are worrying, but it's the reasons for the recalls as well. This isn't a faulty windscreen wiper. This is life-threatening safety features.
And a lot of it, and the National Consumer Commission is sending out these updates saying that they have been told by the car companies what is going on. And we'll talk about that. I mean, it's good that there's a system to release the recalls. But yeah, there's kind of alarm missing. So let's add it to what is going on. Because if you look at the Jeep Wranglers, dust inside the clock spring, you'll know what that is, could compromise airbag circuits, causing a light to display or the non-deployment of airbags during an accident.
I would like my airbag to deploy. That's why I bought the car.
Exactly. If you look at the Kias, the defect may cause a malfunction in the ABS braking system. And then the NCC, the Consumer Commission, says this could increase your stopping distance. But it basically means you may not be able to brake in the time that you expect your car to.
You're going to have to use another car in front of you to try and brake. Which is never a good idea.
Or you could have a engine problem. So, and we've seen this throughout the year. And you were talking about previous recalls. About 2 months ago, we tried to do a tally. So we're getting these releases from the National Consumer Commission. We don't always know the numbers, but in a few cases, we knew numbers and we did a list of the main three. Ford this year, more than 27,499 cars recalled. BMW, about 12,500. Toyota, more than 6,700. So 2 months ago, we were sitting on over 49,000, plus 18,600, plus a few hundred, plus a few here and there that have just been released. We don't always get the numbers. I think we're on 70, 80,000 cars this year in South Africa.
And it's worrying when
maybe even more.
Maybe even more. It's worrying when you think about the fact that some of the brands you mentioned there, I mean, most of them are high-end brands, but you mentioned BMW from earlier in the year. I mentioned Mercedes-Benz. When you're forking out the amount of money for premium German manufacturers and Volvo, and I mean, actually all cars are expensive these days. It doesn't matter what you buy. And they're getting recalled for this. It does, and that kind of number that you're talking about, I wonder about the quality and the quality control of these vehicles, because they're supposed to be so stringent. And yes, I know they're older cars. Some of them are out of warranty, but that's not the kind of feature you want to have being recalled at a later stage. And especially with the number of accidents we have on our country's roads, when I hear numbers like that, it makes it even worse for me.
Yeah, and I've been thinking, what is going on? Because I don't remember this amount of recalls unless the communication is better. But I think we have to ask, are car manufacturers becoming a bit sloppy? Because they're not being punished maybe to the extent they used to be, because it used to stand out. Oh, a big recall. It may have caused reputational damage for that car company. It now seems like because everybody's behaving badly or everybody's doing something wrong, do we as consumers just sort of get on with it and hope they handle the recall well and still trust our cars?
How much of this do you think is because of supply and demand, that they're pumping out so many vehicles that I think the numbers have just jumped exponentially, what's coming off the production line, that we're going to see more and more of these recalls? Because maybe 10, 20 years ago, there weren't as many cars coming off. There were a lot, but the number of instances were so low versus now they're just throwing these cars out there, something is going to slip through.
And there's huge competition from Chinese cars, right, that are flooding global markets. So maybe there's something like that. I just think we've got to ask the question. I hope that sporting journalists are really digging down to what happened here. Remember when VW behaved badly with emissions and they were caught lying? That was a huge crisis. Yeah. And I look at crisis, it's my academic interest, is communication in a crisis. And the first thing that companies have to do is protect people. So it's really important that they do recall quickly and they notify everybody and they notify all the customers and everybody is safe. That is the first thing. But I think we have to ask the question, are they all just hiding behind these big numbers now and being sloppy? Yeah.
And the fines that come, I imagine this happened in America. I'm just trying to think, something happened in America or over in Asia. It was, I'm going to get the dates wrong, but it was about 10, 15 years ago. There was a massive recall by Toyota in Asia. And it was a 0.0001 chance of a electronic failure on their braking system, and they recalled the entire series of Toyotas to come in. Nothing had actually gone wrong. But that small chance, their quality control seems to be so much higher, whereas ours, these sort of numbers are slipping through. And why aren't they getting fined more as the manufacturers? That's a great question.
It is a great question, and I think it's one that we should put to the National Consumer Commission. And certainly, look, things go wrong, and it's also how you handle it. But if you get to a number like Ford, where it's almost 30,000 in a year, then yes, maybe there should be punishment, a stick by South African authorities.
I suppose you could look at it the other way around. Yes, the number is staggeringly high, bad for the manufacturers, but I suppose you could argue that it's good on the fact that these are being discovered. I wonder how they're being discovered, though.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, some of them are old vehicles. And I wanted to say, look, there should be a real stick for the car companies if there are too many recalls. But what we have to celebrate, you're right, is that at least even these old models are being recalled, because the regulators have to make sure that there is real recompense if you don't alert consumers. At least we can say consumers are being alerted, and hopefully all the recalls are covering all the issues, because you have to make sure that the car companies don't hide things. That would be disastrous.
And that would be a disaster. And I suppose I can see the other argument, which I imagine someone will make in the motoring industry, is that if the fines are too stiff, if that stick is too big, and it scares manufacturers, they're going to want to potentially, I'm not saying they will, but you can imagine their marketing teams, their financial teams going, look, it might just be 5 cars. And if we have to recall those 5, we're going to get hit with a massive fine. It's going to affect our bottom line. Reputationally, it's going to affect us. The optics aren't going to look good. So you almost don't want to scare them away with such big fines that they'd rather just hide it. I can see that argument.
Or you want to say, and the National Consumer Commission, I think, is trying to push that they have to recall, that the fine will be bigger if you are found out later that you hid things. And by the way, that should be a huge reputational issue, because people can die. People can die, and companies have to realize you put the numbers aside and you protect people first. All right, but that is the number of the day, and this is a worry and something we'll continue to talk about. One number that raises a myriad of questions: 18,600 vehicles being recalled, and that's just by Kia.